Portugal's non-habitual tax regime, the NHR, was created in 2009. It gets a lot of attention, but it also creates significant confusion. When you start talking about taxes, it's important to remember that tax regimes change over time, so you should never get complacent and think you actually understand all of it. So keep on top of how laws change. My name's Alana, and I work for Migronis. We are a global citizenship and residency by investment company. In this video, I'm going to share with you a little bit more about how NHR works, how do you qualify for it, how do you apply for it, and how does the different taxes work in terms of different incomes that are earned externally. Let's deal with the confusion first. I think the first thing is that it's called the non-habitual tax regime. So people assume that you don't actually have to be in Portugal, where the opposite is actually true. You are required to become a tax resident or a fiscal resident of Portugal before you can apply for the non-habitual tax treaty. The second point is that it has different tax implications on different types of income that you earn. So whether you are a pensioner, just earn a fixed income, are a self-employed person, or are an entrepreneur that settled your company in Portugal. Different incomes and different positions have different implications on the NHR. So let's have a look at how the NHR really works. Very important to understand that this is not a residency permit. You actually have to have the right to reside in Portugal first before you can apply for the NHR. So it's not a visa, it is a tax regime. So let's think about how can you become eligible to apply for the NHR. So first you have to become tax resident. So you register as a fiscal resident in Portugal. You have to apply for this NHR within the first year after you become physically resident in Portugal. So you have up until the 30th of March in the year after you become a resident to qualify for the NHR. It's always advised to apply for NHR regardless of whether you think you qualify or may need it, because you can't apply after that 1 year period is over. So that is how you become eligible to apply. You are also not allowed to have been resident in Portugal in the previous 5 years before you apply, and you cannot repeat the exercise. So NHR is not something that can be repeated. Once you've qualified for the NHR for 10 years and you've used your 10 years, that is it. No more NHR.
The NHR regime, basically what it offers is that you have a status which is valid for 10 calendar years, and calendar years it's important to mention because it's always better, if possible, for clients to move to Portugal or to become Portuguese tax residents at the beginning of a calendar year,
so you get the benefit of the full
for the
year.
10 years and not 9 years and a half or 9 years and 3 months. But what the NHR regime allows clients to have, or the status what it allows, is basically to have mostly on non-Portuguese sourced income that the clients will receive for the next 10 years. They will typically be fully exempt in Portugal. So, I mean, dividends, interest, royalties, capital gains on the sale of properties or rental income of properties that are not located in Portugal, they will in principle be fully exempt in Portugal for 10 years.
Let's talk briefly about this registration process. You only have 12 months after you become a fiscal resident in Portugal to register for the NHR. So you have to register before the 30th of March in the year after you become a fiscal resident. If you miss that cutoff, you will be subject to normal taxes in Portugal, which varies from 14.5% to 48%. So although you have to register within 12 months of becoming a fiscal resident, it is only in the next tax year that the tax authorities register and realize that you have actually applied for NHR and starts applying that. So you have to register, but it takes a little while for the tax authorities to understand that you are an NHR applicant. Who can actually qualify for NHR? There are broadly 3 categories. The first one is pensioners or people that earn a fixed income from abroad. The second category is highly specialized professional positions that can qualify. And the last one is self-employed people or entrepreneurs that live in Portugal and earn their income from abroad. So those are your 3 categories that can qualify. And each of them earn different types of income, and each of those incomes are treated differently within the NHR. So if we start with the first category, which is pensionable income or retirees, or people that have a fixed income from abroad, those are treated more or less the same. So when you have an income, a pension income that you earn from abroad, that is taxed in Portugal at 10%. If you're already taxed on this pensionable income in your source country, then you can actually pay zero tax on your NHR or under the NHR in Portugal. So pensionable income is treated differently. If you earn a fixed income from abroad, you can also be exempt from paying tax in Portugal, provided that that income is taxed at source in the country of origin. So there are multiple double taxation treaties that deals with that particular section of the law. So I publish a list for you of all the countries that have DTAs, and you can go and have a look at specifically how your DTA work in terms of your residency in Portugal. The second category is employees in Portugal. If you are employed in Portugal and considered a high value employee, you can potentially qualify for the NHR. In this case, the tax will be 20% on your income, plus any social security contributions that you have to make. But very important, there's a specific list of what is considered high value employees. And this changes every few years. The most recent updates included things like linguists, dentists, general managers of hotels or companies. So very specific categories. IT professionals were included there. So once again, I publish a list for you of all the current employed status positions that will qualify you for the NHR. I think the important thing there is to determine and maybe consult with a tax professional when you earn your income to understand which will be better for you. Depending on how much you earn, you might rather pay the Portuguese normal income tax rather than the NHR tax of 20% plus social security. So have a look at those positions below. The last category of people that qualify for the NHR is self-employed people or freelancers. Now, those categories also have to be highly skilled professional category people. So not any position in terms of self-employed or freelance would qualify. The income or the income tax there is also 20%, plus whatever social security contributions is applicable. But very important that it has to fall under that highly skilled category. So have a look at that list and see if you qualify. Entrepreneurs also qualify under this section where you can pay 20% plus social security contributions on your worldwide income. Some of that can be exempt, once again, if the income is already taxed at source. So in the case of a freelancer, for instance, if you are freelancing to a company in the US and you are paying income tax on your income there, it can be exempt under the DTA in Portugal. So very important to get a professional tax person to help you with that. It just makes sense to utilize the NHR to its maximum. So in summary, a last few points you have to consider about the NHR. Once you are a tax resident in Portugal, you have to file your taxes on your worldwide income in Portugal with the IRS. The second point is that once your NHR clock starts ticking, that 10-year clock never stops. So even if you decide to go and spend time somewhere else, your 10-year period runs continuously. Probably the most important thing about NHR is because the rules change and because your position might change, is it's always advisable to register for NHR within that first 12-month period, because you don't know how your position might change. Your specific circumstance might be covered in a year or two where it is not covered now. So rather register than realize later on that you could have benefited from the tax regime and you're not registered. You can't skip that process. So if you like this information and you'd like to find out more about the NHR and how it can apply to you and your specific circumstance, please do like the video, subscribe to our channel. My WhatsApp contact details is in the text below. So send me a message and I will happily answer all your questions. See you next time.